Hi, I'm David Kaufman, voice of Jimmy Olsen in Superman the Animated Series. And we're here to catch up with some of the writers and creators from the show, hang out, ask them a few questions, find out what was going on in their mind as they were working on the show. I have a couple questions myself about Jimmy. Let's find out. Follow me. Hey guys!
Hey David.
How's it going?
Hey, nice to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
How's it going, David?
Very, very good. Long time no see.
Yeah.
A couple of
too
years
long.
since
Been a
we
while.
did the show.
Yeah.
I was told you hang out here.
Every Wednesday.
Yeah?
This is our place.
Really?
New comic day, we're here.
Seriously, very cool. Say hi to everybody. Introduce yourself.
Glenn Murakami.
Bruce Timm.
Paul Dini. Alan Burnett.
Let me ask you some questions about the show in terms of these final 18 episodes tended to start the inclusion of Jack Kirby's Fourth World characters.
Right.
What was your thoughts behind bringing those characters in the show?
Well, for a number of things. Superman is such a powerful character. We have always had a problem finding powerful villains to throw up against him. So Jack Kirby's Darkseid character is like one of the major heavy hitters of the DC universe, and we're all like big Jack Kirby fans anyways, and look for any opportunity to, use his stuff in animation. Also, when the Fourth World was first introduced into the comics, one of the first books that it was introduced in was Jimmy Olsen comics. And so there was a Superman connection there already. So we weren't just like drafting, the Fourth World into the Superman mythos just willy-nilly. I mean, there was a precedent for it.
Let us begin at the beginning. What once was whole was split asunder, and in its place there arose two worlds. Worlds as different as daylight and darkness.
It's just a real rich comic book mythology. I mean, it's like a whole big, super involved backstory, which we simplified, of course, for animation. But there's just a lot of really rich story material there.
Not every hero starts off with a great cast of villains, and Supermans are kind of, they're okay, but when you bring in a character like Darkseid and the whole planet of Apocalypse, you've got all these great characters who can match him power for power, and also the idea that Darkseid is a dictator and Superman represents, freedom. You can't beat that.
Did you find more limitation in terms of it being animation as opposed to a comic book, or did you find that gave you a whole new world that you could go into?
Well, like I said, the thing about the Fourth World stuff is that it's really pretty involved. I mean, originally in the comics it was like 4 different separate interlocking comics, and even then it was still just this big sprawling epic, and so we kind of had to really condense it down to its bare essentials to be able to shoehorn it into the Superman story. It wasn't limiting so much as just that it was tricky just trying to figure out how to condense it down and have it still make sense and still kind of retain what it was in the comics that made it good. Mm-hmm. So it was tricky.
Especially dealing with one episode per se at a time.
Yeah, right.
That's sort of a time period to work with.
Yeah, they were big epic stories, so usually we would save the Apocalypse stuff until we had a 2-parter.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
We used Apocalypse about how many episodes?
Well, we had 2 episodes where we kind of hinted at it first.
Right.
We had the one with Tools of the Trade, where we just kind of, introduced a little bit of it. And then Father's Day was when Calabac came in and basically just fought Superman for 20 minutes. And then we did Apocalypse Now, Little Girl Lost, and Legacy. And all of those were 2-parters.
So about 8.
Yeah.
You're a magnificent opponent, Superman. But even you must realize it's hopeless.
Did you guys feel that there was like a difference in the show, like with the direction of the show when those characters were involved?
Clearly. I think the show started getting a little bit darker. Glenn gives me a hard time about that.
It's the stuff that we were the most into, that we felt the most connection to. I think we also felt the Kirby stuff, we can put our stamp on the show, that things that no one else had ever seen in like a Superman cartoon before. Mm-hmm. So I think that's what we really liked about it.
Right. But the stories did get a little bit more, not necessarily darker, but deeper. I mean, especially after Apocalypse Now, what Superman goes through in Apocalypse Now is kind of such a horrendous thing. And from that point on, at the end of that story, Darkseid is like way up at the top of Superman's, you know, hate list. So from that point on, every time, you know, Superman ran across Darkseid or his minions, Superman like instantly gets grouchy. I mean, it's always like, it's a bad day for Superman when Darkseid and gang show up. So it's interesting to us because Superman is one of those characters, it's like you don't necessarily want to play him dark or gritty and angry and all the time, but he is kind of so inherently good that you need to kind of break that mold a little bit every now and then so that he's not just namby-pamby, you know. You have to kind of, you know, you got to kind of test him a little bit. So Darkseid was really good for that. The last episode of Superman was actually the second part of a two-part Darkseid story. I mean, it's actually a pivotal moment for our Superman and Lois. I mean, they kiss for the first time in that show. And so that's kind of a turning point for them. Too bad it was the last episode, you know. But
The intention was to make Superman distrusted now.
Right.
In those last 2 episodes, because Darkseid took him over, and he was doing things that he wouldn't have done had he not been under Darkseid's control. So.
But yeah, that whole last season of Superman was going to be a little bit more about the world learning to trust Superman again, and Superman trying to regain their trust. And
There were other DC characters that came in these last few episodes too. How did that come about?
I don't know. I think it was those guys.
Well, Superman seems to lend himself more for guest stars than Batman did. We did relatively few guest stars on Batman. Superman is so much more powerful than Batman. You kind of want to throw other heroes in there with him and, you know, raise the stakes a little bit. You know, Aquaman is kind of a natural, Green Lantern. They all fit, you know, they dovetail into Superman's world, which is a much more superpowered world, whereas Batman is much more of a gritty film noir type of world. The villains there are more, you know, out of diseased minds than they are out of, you know, superpowers than anything. So the guest stars just seem a little bit more natural in Superman's world.
I don't believe it. A super girl?
Believe it.
What about the introduction of Supergirl?
Supergirl is something that we wanted to do from very early on. I know Glenn and I were really keen on doing Supergirl, and she's a big part of the mythos anyways, you know, from the comics and stuff, so we figured we'd have to get around to her eventually someday, and kind of always liked the character, and we kind of wanted to put our own spin on her. And
It's just a contrast, and then having Superman having to deal with like a
So it was definitely
a cute, bratty kind of girl.
Yeah.
You know.
It was definitely something you guys wanted to do, as opposed to like.
oh yeah, the network didn't come to us and say, yeah, you have to put in a girl for girl viewers or whatever. No, it was something we wanted to do. So.
There was just only one restriction, I think, was that she couldn't come from Krypton.
They were going through a phase where they're saying the last son of Krypton, last Kryptonian.
So he's the last one.
Yeah, we created a sister planet called Argo, which some way referenced Argo City, which is where she was from on Krypton originally. So it was like a sister planet where I guess the Kryptonians had colonized, you know, hundreds or thousands of years before.
Right.
So they were very similar to the Kryptonians. Yet when Krypton blew up, their world was thrown out of orbit. And
We actually kind of skated some of that stuff by. If you remember, DC actually specifically requested that her powers not be exactly like Superman's.
right.
They said because she's technically not Kryptonian, so you know Earth's sunlight should affect her differently. And we said, oh yeah, we'll give her some different powers. And
We never did. I mean, a line here or there, maybe kryptonite doesn't affect her as quickly as it affects Superman, or she's not as strong. But,
yeah.
you know, that was sort of lost to time.
How about the any specific episodes that you can?
One of the episodes I
specifically
like
remember?
on this reel is Nighttime, which is the one where Superman assumes Batman's identity, and because Batman's missing, and so he's working with Robin to try and track him down. The city of Gotham's going a little wild because everybody thinks Batman's gone, and so he reappears as Batman and pretends to be Batman. Bob Goodman wrote that, and there's a lot of humor in it. There's one great scene where he beats up Bane, and you just love that scene. I love that scene.
I like seeing Superman doing his impression of Batman.
Yeah.
I mean, when he's like talking to Commissioner Gordon and he's like standing, you know, ramrod stiff with his chin in the air and being all aloof. And that's a good episode. I like that one a lot.
Demon Reborn was another one.
Demon Reborn is another one of our Superman Batman team up episodes, which we did rather a number of, I suppose, once we brought Batman back. Yeah, that's one where Ra's al Ghul is like getting really, really old, and his Lazarus Pit thing isn't working anymore, so he wants to steal Superman's power to rejuvenate himself.
Nice looking.
Any other episodes you can remember from this batch that you were particularly proud of?
I like Absolute Power. The artist did a great job on it. They created a whole new world.
It was one of those shows that I didn't like the script very much, but the only way I thought could make it appealing to me was just to go crazy with the sci-fi elements, and yeah, we designed Paul Ravoche went crazy designing the world, and I designed all the spaceships. We had good storyboard guys. We had Lee Weeks, the famous comic book artist, doing storyboards from that episode.
I know we did it really fast.
I just thought I was impressed with the world.
We did it really fast.
It looks good.
Yeah.
And the black hole effect. Oh yeah, that's right, the black hole
Yeah.
effect. That's right. I think that's the reason you wanted to do that story in the first place. You said, I want this big black hole. And I said, Alan, do you know how difficult it is to do a black hole in animation? And this is before we had digital effects too. This was like, we had to do it all old school. But yeah.
Production-wise, we were cranking.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, we must have been
that was
doing
a tough
Batmans
one.
at that same time too.
Yeah.
We were.
Yeah.
This set also has, unfortunately, some of the worst episodes we've ever done.
Such as?
Well, hate to say it,
Superman's Pal.
It's
Superman's Pal.
not a good show, unfortunately, I don't think. I think it's a good idea for a show, but the execution is just not there. It's like, I don't know.
Whose
Little big head
execution?
man. I
Whose
got too
execution?
Oh, you were
with that one.
perfect.
No, you're fine.
you.
It's not your fault. It's just, no, we fell down. I had to say
Well,
it.
you know
Somebody had
what?
to say it.
But there are people who are probably wondering about that episode. What were they thinking about this one? And
It's
I think
somebody's
it's good
favorite
to.
episode.
Probably.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, there's an episode on here that a lot of people also consider one of our worst episodes, Unity, and I always kind of liked it.
Oh, I like that. That's a
I
lot of
always kind
fun.
of liked Unity,
Yeah.
but people just hate that episode.
Why?
Because it's really weird and grotesque.
one's
and
that? Supergirl
Yeah,
solo
with the
episode.
creepy preacher guy, but he's actually an alien, and he's in Smallville, and he's got like a hive mind colony thing happening with all the people in Smallville, and they like vomit these big alien tentacles and
Oh,
stuff.
it's gross, but it's fun.
What are you gonna do?
Settle it. Once and for all.
As you look back, did you guys find that you accomplished what you set out to do at the beginning of the series?
We kind of touched a lot of the different bases in the Superman mythos. I mean, we got to do all the, the major things. We got to do Bizarro and Mixes Pitlick and, Supergirl and Superman's Pal, the origin story. And it was kind of, we kind of were able to like pay homages to all our favorite versions of Superman, from the Fleischers and, the Christopher Reeve movies and whatnot. I mean, this stuff all blends together a lot better than I ever thought it did. But, I mean, even shows that I didn't think were all that great when we worked on them, I watch them now and go, wow, this is a really good episode.
So if you guys had the chance, would you like to take another crack at doing the show again? Not necessarily redoing it, but doing it again?
I'd love to take another shot at Superman.
Yeah,
definitely.
that'd be a lot of fun.
It's like Batman. Once we did it the second time, I think we figured out how to do it better. I think the same thing with Superman. We kind of worked all the bugs out.
I think, not only did we figure out a little bit more who Superman and Clark were, but also some of the interpersonal dynamics between Jimmy and Lois and Perry and the Kents, and you can go back and revisit that stuff and broaden those characters a little more once you've established them and use those for potential, story material. Same with the villains, too. You go in and you tweak them and you work with them a little bit, or you bring in some new characters, perhaps from the comics, and shake things up, and then you find yourself having fun with it.
A lot of Superman's success depends on how well he's animated, to me. To see the musculature and see the sense of flight with the cape and everything, I mean, he really depends on that. We were lucky in a lot of cases to get really good results.
Yeah, there's some that are right up there with our best work.
That's really good stuff.
It's fun seeing, what does the world think of this guy? Here's one guy who's kind of like a god on earth, and how does the world relate to him? What does he do, and how does he make life better for people, and what's their perception of him? And I think when you do the stories that are just Superman and the world, you have a chance to really sit and think about what that means and go off on who the character is and how he relates to people. It's kind of fun.
Anything else you'd like to add? Anything else you want to say about the show?
More shows with Jimmy in it, I guess.
More shows with Jimmy,
Yeah.
One word.
Spin-off.
Oh,
Super
Super Olsen.
Olsen.
What do you think?
Well, that would be one thing if we ever went back and did a Superman show, new batches of Superman. That would be something we should definitely look into, is giving Jimmy superpowers.
Keep it.
Clearly.
Yep.
Good.
Missed a big boat there.
Elastilad needs to be done.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Glenn, Bruce, Paul, Alan. I had a great time. I learned some things. I'll see you around.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't be a stranger.
I won't. I'll be waiting by the phone.
Okay.
Tomorrow.
The Adventures
actually.
of Jimmy.
So just
the last lad.
There you go.
I'm gonna hold you to it.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 Thanks for tuning in to Warner Home Video's Superman the Animated Series Volume 3. Hope you had a good time. I did. And hope you had a little insight to what made Superman tick. I got some comics to read. Bye.